So we've been wanting to do the Sermon on the Mount for a while.
Yes.
Sermon on the Mountain.
I mean, it's full of gold. Full of gold.
Matthew chapter 5 through 7. Let's just jump in. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on the mountain. And after he sat down, his disciples came to him. He opened his mouth and began to teach them, saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the gentle, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Blessed are those who have been persecuted for the sake of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you and persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward in heaven is great, for in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you." Well, that's just the Beatitudes part. What sticks out to you?
Well, I mean, the first thing that sticks out to me is that, it seems to me that in most belief systems, it's you believe in a God, and that God gives you something now, here, in this world. And so you have God coming to you. You would expect to hear, if you believe in me, you'll be powerful, you'll be rich, you'll be strong, you'll be mighty, which he could do. But he's setting the scene here. Those are not the people who inherit, not the haughty, the proud, the powerful, the strong, the rich, the mighty. It's not who he came for. And ultimately, I think a lot of times it's because the less you have, the more you need to rely on God. And I think even when they talk about people who are wealthy, for example, I think that we don't understand how wealthy we are sometimes, because if you don't know where your next meal is going to come from, then you need to pray. If you don't know that it's safe to walk down the street to go to school, then you need to pray. If you, I mean, the more, the less uncertain things are, the more dependent you become. And so, you know, it is the meek and the weak who are calling out for him. And it's not always that way, because nothing's ever cookie cutter, but it's not just an illustration of who he came for. It's a promise that of the comfort and that their needs will be met, not necessarily in this world, but ultimately their needs will be met. So
yeah, that list of people is interesting. The poor in spirit. So poor in spirit, so not talking about like poor in this world, but they realize their place in relation to God, it seems like.
And I would say that's part of it. I would also say that people who come in thinking that they already know God, and they already know. And the people who are wise in their own eyes as well, who think they're rich in spirit, but...
Yeah. So it's the people that know that they're poor in spirit. They know they need God.
Humble.
They know they need God.
Humble.
So the poor in spirit, theirs is the kingdom of heaven.
Yes.
It says, blessed are those who mourn. That sounds also humility. That sounds like those who see themselves clearly. They mourn over basically being poor in spirit. They mourn over being less than what God would like.
I think there's another aspect to that as well, because why do we mourn?
Loss.
Loss because we loved.
Mm-hmm.
You can't truly mourn unless you truly loved, and love comes from Him. So sometimes love hurts.
This is the gentle, but I've heard it in other translations as meek. And there's definitely a big difference between gentle and meek necessarily. It's a nuance, I think.
It is a nuance.
It's not they're not opposites. They're part of the same thing. But I've heard the definition of meek as being somebody who has the power, who has great power, but only uses just enough to restrain. So I think the example would be the difference between somebody who is trained in all sorts of martial arts and weapons and stuff, and somebody breaks into his house and goes, yippee, I get to kill him, and then he goes crazy on him and kills him, versus somebody who's very well trained and is trained well enough so that they can disarm the other person and restrain them without killing them. That would be meekness, is not using too much force. And so it's the same in life, as a lot of people say, okay, well, it's not blessed are the weak. It's not saying, okay, well, we're going to lay down and just let everything happen. Mm-hmm. It's saying we're going to use enough of our strength to hold you back, but we're not going to be overly aggressive. And we're talking about more on a spiritual, I think in a spiritual sense he's talking here. But I mean, I'm sure it carries over to the physical also. But just being restrained, it speaks to self-control.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, gentle is a good word too. I think that is absolutely an attribute of being godly. But it's possible they changed the word because in today's language, meek also carries the implication of fear. Mm-hmm. And it's not about being afraid. So, yeah, I mean, your definition is more hitting the nail on the head. So, but I don't think that's how it's perceived nowadays. So that's sometimes, I mean, who knows?
Oh, the language.
Yep.
Keeps changing. So the meek shall inherit the earth. Mm-hmm. It says, blessed are those, and this is one of my favorite ones. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied.
Yes.
And I've said that over and over. If you're seeking for God, He's not going to be like, sorry, buddy, you're not one of the chosen. Mm-hmm. If you have a hunger for God and you're reaching out to Him and you're seeking Him, you don't even know who He is. Mm-hmm. He's going to make Himself known to you.
Oh, He will.
If you ask Him, okay, God, who are you? Just tell me and I'll follow you. I'll serve you. I'll do whatever you want. I'm all yours. Then He'll be, okay, here I am. Yeah. And that's something I pray every single day, is for pretty much everybody that I pray for, is I say, give them a hunger and thirst for your righteousness. Because that's just something to be sought.
Right. Because
we want to be more like Jesus.
More like Him.
Let's see. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. That would be like immediate forgiveness. That's not an easy thing. I mean, somebody's not asking for your forgiveness. Somebody did something and they're not sorry about it. To be able to say, I forgive them, and then just let it go. That's very, very difficult to do. And it's obviously it's not something that is humanly possible, because we have this sense of justice. And
we do.
From our perspective, when you start being close to the Lord, you start to realize your place in relation to the Lord, and realize, no justice, thank you. You know, I don't want
You don't want his
I don't want justice.
Yeah.
The
Patience. That's it.
yeah. I go back to the sign that I had printed up is hanging in my front hall that says, "If life were fair, we'd all be hanging on a cross."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Every time the kids go, "That's not fair," I go read the sign.
Go read this. Yeah, that's perfect.
All right, let's see what else we got. The pure in heart, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. I take that as motives.
Yeah.
People with pure motives.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to see as we continue on through here, Jesus hammers down hard on the motives behind everything. He's saying your actions mean absolutely nothing.
Of course.
It's why you did it.
Exactly.
And I think we get too caught up as humans in doing things and then saying, well, I did this and I did this and I did this and I'm good, right? And Jesus is like, why did you do it?
Mm-hmm.
And you go back and look at that and you're like, and the problem is that Jeremiah says the heart is deceitfully wicked above all else, who can bear it?
Mm-hmm.
So our own heart lies to us
Of course.
about our motives and convinces us we're doing it for the right reasons. And it's not until we do a deep dive self-analysis, why did I really do this? What is the reason? What is behind all this? And track it all back. Suddenly we realize, oh, I did it because I wanted other people to respect me more. Or, I went and...
Aside from, I mean, there is a way which seems right to a man.
And its end is destruction.
Its end is destruction. But it seems right.
Yeah.
It's not even somebody who's doing the wrong thing in their own eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But what you're doing only seems right.
Yep.
So you can't trust your own heart. You have to trust God. And because you're right, what essentially you're saying you can't trust your own intentions and motivations. And a lot of times you say, look at all the good I'm doing, but the actual motivation is yourself, mm-hmm. Just building up that altar to you. Yeah. And look how great I am. So,
and I think that's a big part of the motives being right, is because people instinctually know why people are doing things. And I mean, we all suspect at the first part, and we're like, oh, they're just doing that for this.
Right.
And it ends up tarnishing the witness to God, of God, from God, because it's not from a pure heart. It's not for pure motives. And it's really hard to keep yourself in check constantly, because it really isn't. I know a lot of people who struggle with sin, and they are constantly like, don't sin, don't sin, don't sin, don't sin. But it flows from the heart.
Mm.
So it's like, it would be like the bottom floor of a house is flooding, and everybody's there with buckets trying to get everything out. It's like somebody just goes over and turns off the faucet. It's like, just turn off the faucet and you won't have to be, but in order to do that, it's consciously dedicating yourself to God continuously.
Mm-hmm.
In a way where you're looking at him. Every time it seems we talk about Peter walking on the water. Mm-hmm. Taking your eyes off Jesus makes you sink.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, and I mean, going back to what you were just saying about people being able to tell intentions, a lot of times, that's why when things are done with pure intention, the way it's meant to be done, it makes people stop and say, wait a second, why are they doing that?
Yeah.
And it confuses them enough to ask, which mm-hmm. then gives us the right to tell.
Yeah.
So
let's see, what else? So, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Sons of God.
That's the best That's the title to chase.
And it brings up, to those who received him, to them he gave the right to become sons of God.
Yes.
Not to be sons of God.
To become.
To become.
Yeah.
So it's a process that you start at some point. And it's saying the peacemakers shall be called sons of God. And he is the Prince of Peace. It's people seeking peace all over the world. And if you're really praying for peace, what you're really praying for is for Jesus to come back. Because that's the only time
the only way we're going to get it. Yeah.
It's Maranatha.
Maranatha.
So, peacemakers. And that brings to mind like the living life in the third person, stepping outside of yourself. Because again, it's like when you're watching something happen to somebody else, you're less reactionary. And if you step outside of yourself and can look at yourself in the third person, when people are doing things to you, then you can make peace with them. Even though if you were in first person, you would react. And
I tell people a lot because I deal with people every day that you have to keep in mind that when people are being mean to you and they're being, I mean, when people are being mean to you, it's not you that they're angry at. They don't even know you. Something else is hurting in their life. They're taking it out on you. So if it's not about you personally, don't take it personally.
yeah.
So it's better instead to try to find out where that pain is coming from. And
that's the perspective shift again. It's what we've been talking about with giving people the benefit of the doubt. It's make up a story. Maybe, the guy who cut me off, maybe they're on their way to the hospital with a pregnant wife. Maybe they have to pee really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've gone over it before. It's like, is the story true? We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know why, what they're doing or what's behind all that. Chances are it's a much, much more complex series of events that's happened through their whole life that's made them who they are because of the way that they are. But most of the time when people are unhappy, it's because they have expectations for the way that things are, and their attempts to control their life to make it meet their expectations has failed, and they're mad about it.
Yep. And something else that I was just teaching my children yesterday is that it's also important to remember that who somebody is not who they are in this moment. It's a collection of all their moments. So who they are right now, that's not who they are. It's just who they are right now. So,
yeah. So, blessed are those who have been persecuted for the sake of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. I don't know if many of us have been persecuted for the sake of righteousness.
We are lucky enough to live in a place where that's not the case yet.
I think when a society gets to the place where black is white and wrong is right and everything flips on its head, then righteousness is perceived as evil. And that's when you get persecuted for righteousness. But it's because the definitions have been flipped.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that seems to be one of the enemy's biggest tools throughout all of time is flipping the script and changing definitions of things so that words don't mean what they used to mean and actions don't mean what they used to mean, and everything's flipped around.
But did he really say that?
Yeah. All right. Let's go on to 13. Well, it says, I'll finish that out. Blessed are you when people insult you and persecute you and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward in heaven is great, For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. Let's roll into 13, verse 13, chapter 5. You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt has become tasteless, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything, except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot by men. You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden, nor does anyone light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. Let your light shine before men in such a way that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven. Do not think that I came to abolish the law or the prophets. I did not come to abolish, but to fulfill. For truly I say to you, until heaven and earth pass away, not the smallest letter or stroke shall pass from the law until all is accomplished. Whoever then annuls one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever keeps and teaches them shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I say to you that unless your righteousness surpasses that of the scribes and Pharisees, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. All right, that's jam-packed. So
There's a lot there.
what's your favorite?
Oh, man.
Trick question.
Where do you begin? I mean, well, that salt and light, it's so important, those concepts, because, I mean, if you're saved, then you are becoming more and more Christ-like through sanctification, but your heart changes and you yearn for the things of God. So if you're burning with that light, how can you hide it? You can't. And why would you?
Yeah.
So he calls us so often to be, it's so important that we are that example because we're his representatives. And if we're hypocrites, then we are doing damage to his name. And I mean, there's a lot there. The translation I have is unless your holiness far exceeds that of the Pharisees. And and they were, I mean, they weren't that good themselves. So
Well, that's setting it up because as right after this section, I think is where he starts going into motives. And that's how why he's talking about the scribes and the Pharisees and their righteousness is because the scribes and the Pharisees were doing the letter of the law and not the spirit of the law.
Right.
Their motives were not for the glory of God, because that's what it says there. Let your light shine before men in such a way that they may see your good works. And what's the purpose of your good works?
Glorify God.
To glorify your Father who is in
God.
heaven.
Yeah.
Anytime you do something good, if it doesn't glorify your Father who's in heaven, it wasn't for him. It was for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what he's going to go into when he goes through the scribes and the Pharisees.
Right. And we'll also learn that if you're doing it for yourself, then your reward is here on earth. He'll let you collect your reward here on earth, but it won't be collected in heaven. So
this section, I think, is pretty much it's divided up into it hits three different points. Talks about salt, talks about light, talks about the law. And so with salt, the interesting thing about salt is back in Jesus' day, they didn't have refrigerators.
It
So
was a preservative.
you get meat, you pack it in salt, and it'll stay good. It slows the corruption. It slows the decay. And it says that we are the salt of the earth. So that leads me to think, what would happen if all the Spirit-filled believers weren't here?
Wouldn't be a pretty place.
It would be a fast decline. And right now the whole world is in a slow decline. But I think it's being restrained and held back by the salt. That's stopping the corruption from spreading faster than it absolutely needs to at this point. But as fewer and fewer people are walking in the Spirit, they're distracted by the things of the flesh and the things of the world. It's decaying faster. And I know my mother, for one, gets out and says, "We have to go and vote for the right people." And I'm like,
Yeah, he's got
I'm
that.
like, he puts everybody right where they need to be. But it's one of those things where, I've heard several people, including my mother, talk about changing the country, making it more godly and this and that, but it's not done through voting. It's done through one-on-one bringing people to the Lord. Because think about it. If everybody in the whole country was a Spirit-filled believer who was walking in the Spirit continuously, would you need laws?
No.
Would you need police?
Yeah, no.
Because if you're led by the Spirit, you will not fulfill the desires of the flesh. So you're free from the law because you're in the Spirit. Not because you're being a good person, not because you're doing the right thing, but because He has given you the desire to do the right thing. So you are pursuing your own desires once they're aligned with His.
Right. Exactly.
They become your desires.
Right.
And now suddenly you're following the law and you're like, how'd that happen?
Yeah. What do you know? He was right.
What do you mean I don't want to
I'm
do this
happy.
anymore? I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to do that anymore. And it's not an instantaneous process. It's the sanctification that He who began a good work in you will be faithful to complete it until the day of Christ.
Yes.
It continues all the way to the day of Christ. So we're never going to get to the point
You'll
where
never,
everybody's a Spirit-filled believer. That is like, at some point, Jesus will come back and we'll be at that point. That's why He's the Prince of Peace.
Right.
That's why there's no peace with no Jesus. But the best thing, I would say that the most effective thing that we can do to be the salt is to be the light. And the only way we can be the light, the lamps at the time, they're oil lamps. They're not candles that you just light the wick and there's fire. They use the oil, which is symbolic of the Holy Spirit. We can't burn without the Spirit. We can't be the light without the Spirit giving us that fuel, giving us that fire. And so that's what I have this hung up on my refrigerator, actually. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor does anyone light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on the lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. Let your light shine before men in such a way that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven.
Yeah.
That is, what is our purpose in life? There it is.
Yep.
That's our entire purpose in life. I think I've said it before. I had people who have asked me, "Do you think it's God's will that I go here?" I was like, "Is it dark? Is there darkness there?" Yes. Yes, it is. His will is for you to be a light in the darkness. Wherever He opens the doors and sends you there, doing whatever, it's for you to be a light in the darkness. As long as you're being a light in the darkness, you're doing His will. That's His purpose, why we're on this earth right now. That's why when we get saved, God doesn't say, "Good job, buddy. Come on with me,"
Yeah.
and take you out of the world.
Good.
Because He wants you to be a light and to continue being refined and sanctified. And then the law part. Do not think that I came to abolish the law or the prophets. I did not come to abolish, but to fulfill. For truly I say to you, unless heaven and earth pass away, not the smallest letter or stroke shall pass from the law until all is accomplished. Whoever then annuls one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever keeps and teaches them, he shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. And I have had people tell me that that's why we as believers still need to follow the law, because Jesus commands it right there. He didn't do away with it. He came to fulfill it until all is accomplished. And the interesting thing here too is that it says, shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. Notice that whoever annuls the least of these commandments is still in the kingdom of heaven.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't been cast out. They're still in, they're the least. But they're
Yeah,
still
right.
in.
Yeah.
But there's 2 points from this. And the first one is this is also setting up the next part of the sermon, where he is about to tell us more detail about what the law really means, because it's not the letter, it's the spirit.
Yeah.
And secondly, I mean, what is the law? Matthew 22:36. A whole bunch of
I am the law.
You're not the law.
Sorry.
There's what, 613 commandments in the law total?
I didn't count them.
In the Torah. I think it's 613. So we've got to follow all those things, because Jesus says not one
Right.
letter will pass away.
Not one tittle.
I don't think so. I think he has a different plan here. He says 22:36. Teacher, what is the greatest commandment in the law? And he said to him, you shall love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all your mind. This is the great and foremost commandment. The second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these 2 commandments depend the whole law and the prophets. So there's that. That's a pretty interesting definition. And there's one more if I can find it. I'd really like to find it and give I think it might be in 7 actually, come to think of it. It's going to be done, it's later on in the sermon. Oh yeah, chapter 7, verse 12. So, if we want to know what the law is, right now he's starting, you must obey the entire law. And not one letter or stroke will pass away, right? Until all is fulfilled. And it says in chapter 7, verse 12, in everything, therefore, treat people the same way you want them to treat you. For this is the law and the prophets. Do you want to know what the law is?
Right there.
The golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Now, is that a doing thing?
No, it's a loving thing.
Yeah.
Is what it is. It 100% intention. Because love is for others. It's an expression for others, and it takes compassion, it takes empathy, it takes all the qualities of God. So putting somebody else above yourself.
The process would be you devote yourself to God. You spend time with God. You become more like Jesus because you're spending time with Jesus. And as you become more like Jesus, you start to adopt his heart for others. And then you start treating them the way Jesus would treat them. And then the law is fulfilled. So that's a process. And
because through that you have the compassion and the justice and the righteousness, and
And I think I got to do a video on this, but definitions, common Christian definitions, because a lot of the definitions, I think a lot of people in church and a lot of believers, they hear these things all the time: grace, faith, belief, and they don't fully understand how. I mean, they're very abstract terms, but to take them and put them in like mechanically into action I'd like to do that. I think
Yeah.
I think
mean, yeah.
love is, I've come to understand that love, it's not a feeling. It has nothing to do with emotions, nothing to do with any of that. When we're talking about love on God's level, we're talking about a decision. It's a simple commitment. And it's a commitment to put the object of your love as a priority over yourself in your life. That's, to me, that's the definition of love.
It is definitely a choice. And yeah, I can't speak for the rest of the world, obviously, but here, we're taught through movies and TV and music that love is that feeling you get when you first see somebody, and that excitement and that thinking about them 20, that's not love, that's lust. And that fades. But since we're told that that's what love is, when it fades, we think that, oh, I must not love this person anymore. And that's why so many relationships fail.
Yeah.
No, love is finding a person that you want to spend your life with, despite who they are. I mean, it's loving somebody with their flaws, with everything. Just loving them.
Saying challenge accepted.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a decision you make. I'm not going to leave or forsake you.
Yeah.
And with man, this is not possible. But with God, all things are possible. Because he is love. And spending time with him, you find yourself able to use his love
100%.
as a spiritual gift.
Oh, yeah.
And it flows out to other people.
Mm-hmm. And the beautiful thing is that once that starts happening and his love starts flowing through you, it starts coming back to you as well, and that love grows. It always grows. It's a wonderful thing.
I remember telling my daughter that she was watching Disney movies, and she was saying, but it says to follow your heart. And I was like, so I go, honey, come and read Jeremiah. And she had her read it. The heart is deceitfully wicked.
Yes.
Deceitfully wicked above all things. Who can bear it?
Yeah.
I was like, you want to follow that?
Yeah, the heart is not trustworthy.
Yeah. So, all right, let's see. So we're getting set to go into the next section, which is starting in verse 21. So they've set up, Jesus has set up, the law is not going anywhere. I've come to fulfill it. Nothing's going to be done until all is accomplished. It says, interestingly enough, I forget where it is, but it says that it won't pass away until heaven and earth pass away. So when we know that all is accomplished, we know that he's talking about the end of the age.
Yeah.
So the law is still there, but he's going back and redefining, because what happened is God obviously gave his law to all mankind from the very beginning. Start thinking about things like, Cain and Abel. How did they know to offer sacrifices and what to offer? You start thinking about Noah. How did he know what kosher and not kosher animals were? He was supposed to, God commanded him to take 7 kosher and 2 of the not kosher, right? How did he know kosher laws 1,500 years before Moses? There's plenty of examples about how there was the law of God predated. It is eternal. But I think that Israel was chosen as a nation of priests. So they were held to a higher standard and given a stricter set of rules to follow. And that was the Mosaic law. God has his purposes. That's a different conversation. We're not going down that road right now. But Jesus is coming here and saying, listen, this isn't just for the Jews. I'm spreading this to the whole world, and we're going back to the beginning. And we're going to see him say a lot of stuff like that. Well, you say, one of the things was, Moses allowed you to divorce your wife because of the hardness of your hearts. But that wasn't the case from the beginning. He keeps going from the beginning, because in the beginning was God's law. And the Mosaic law was a variation, but it wasn't identical. And God's law has always been the spirit of the law, not the letter of the law.
Exactly. And that's the difference, is that, I mean, the spirit of the law is really what's in your heart. Are you tithing because you have to, or because you want to? Are you helping the orphan and the widow because it looks good on your resume, or because that compassion is in your heart? God's mercy. And if it's just a list of laws that you're following, then you're following a piece of paper. You're not following God. And this is, I mean, that's been going on since the beginning. Him saying, your songs are meaningless to me because I know the spirit behind them.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're saying the right words. Good job. But
I desire compassion, not sacrifice.
right.
Chesed, loving
yeah.
kindness.
Absolutely. Love.
That reminds me also of going back to Cain and Abel. Just as evidence that it was the spirit of the law and not the letter of the law. So Cain offered vegetables. And Abel offered a lamb. And when God called Cain out, he didn't say, how dare you bring me vegetables? He said, why is your countenance fallen? Your heart's not right. The reason this isn't accepted, he said, if you do well, will you not be accepted? In other words, you're giving up your stuff, but you don't want to. The spirit of the law. It wasn't about what they were offering. It was about the spirit in which they were offering it. So the law has always been spirit. And Jesus came to bring everybody back to that. And the irony is that a lot of the people in his church have gone back to following rules. When he came to, basically, when they say you're free of the law, what he meant is, you're not following the law, you're following me.
Right. Not make a brand new law.
Walk in the spirit, you won't fulfill the desire of the flesh. So, verse 21. You have heard. Okay. Anytime you hear, you have heard. Think oral law. What you've heard versus what you've read, or what I say, because he is the word. Right? You have heard that the ancients were told, you shall not commit murder, and whoever commits murder will be liable to the court. But I say to you, who says to them? The word of God says to them, that everyone who is angry with his brother shall be guilty before the court. And whoever says to his brother, you good for nothing, shall be guilty before the Supreme Court. And whoever says, you fool, shall be guilty enough to go into the fiery hell. Quick question. Why is you fool so horrible in this context? You have any idea?
No.
It occurred to me after listening to James Earl Jones read this to me about 4,000 times.
That must have been beautiful.
It was. Luke chapter 3.
Nice.
Psalms. The fool has said in his heart, there is no God. By calling somebody a fool at this point in this culture, you are making a judgment on their on the status of their salvation.
Gotcha. You were judging them.
And apparently, Jesus doesn't think that's a very good idea.
No.
He's saying,
Judge not.
he's saying, and honestly today, it's something we run into all the time, is everybody finds themselves at some point saying, that guy's probably not even saved. Look at how he's acting. Look at what that guy's doing. This and that and so on and so forth. But the truth is, that always needs to be followed up with, I can't tell.
Yeah, what do I know?
I'm seeing through human eyes, seeing a human, and I can't see his heart, and I don't know his relationship with God, and I don't know where God has him or what God's doing with him. So saying that he is not saved, I think is a major misstep on my part if I say something like that. So it's always best to leave salvation between the person and God. Yes, you can tell a tree by its fruit.
Yeah, it's true. Fruits of the Spirit, but that's judging. So
Yeah. But at the same time, I think for the most part, that is, there is a process by which you relate to people. And there are people that are not mature enough to understand some of the things that you know when you become more spiritually mature. And there's some people that do completely get it. And then there's some people that are so far beyond you that they sound absolutely insane. So everybody's in a different place, and that needs to be something we can understand and focus on from
And
the
celebrate.
very beginning, saying, you know what, I don't know what God's doing with you, but I trust that he's going to complete it because he's the one doing the work, not me. I think a big issue sometimes is that we think that it's incumbent upon us to teach other people. We can't teach people anything. We can't convince anybody of anything. We don't change minds. We don't change hearts. We don't convince people of anything. That's why we don't argue. There's no point in arguing. You're never going to convince anybody. All it's going to do is make people mad at each other. And it burns bridges and it closes doors and it basically quenches the spirit. Anytime that you're criticizing, you're being negative, you're being, you're judging people for salvation. I mean, when we're talking about their walk with God, that really is between them and God where they are. Now, a lot of the stuff with fruits of the Spirit is, okay, people who are like this, the fruits of the flesh, don't have anything to do with them. If they're saying they're Christians and yet they don't change, they don't progress, and they're hostile, they can become a bad influence on people like the children. People like immature Christians can be stumbled by people like that. So they said, keep these people. They had the process of go to them one-on-one, take a second person, take the elders, call them before the church. And if they're not going to repent, then show them the door. It doesn't necessarily mean that you don't go one-on-one with them necessarily.
I do want to draw the distinction because we're taught that it's not our place to judge the non-believers. But it's not. There is a distinction between, as if it's between fellow Christians, we are called to hold each other accountable. And that's not, it's not the same. Obviously if you have a Christian brother and you see that their fruits are changing, then it's our job to bring accountability, but that should be done with words of encouragement, with words of honey. And actually in the Bible, there's even a step-by-step of how to do it. You send one person, then you send it. It's laid out. He tells you what it looks like. But So there is an accountability piece. Then that, if done incorrectly, may look like judgment, but it's not. It's done out of love. It's not done out of divisiveness or.
And that's the thing is if we can't do it in His name,
Right.
in love, and not, thus saith the Lord, here
Right.
comes
Oh,
fire.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's if you can't do it in love, don't do it,
Don't do it.
because it must be in love. That's part of the formula. And when it's not done in love, it pushes people away from God, and you're accountable for that.
Yeah. Yes.
When it's with love, it will sometimes push them away from God still,
Out of
but sometimes
fear, shame.
sometimes it'll bring people closer to God. So that's the issue we run into with that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to non-believers, I think the idea of judging the fruit of non-believers is somewhat ridiculous.
It is.
It's like, okay, you're not claiming to follow Jesus,
Right.
so you're incapable of walking in the Spirit. So what are we?
I can't hold you by those standards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are we going to say about that?
Yeah.
You know, you've got bigger fish to fry.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, a much bigger problem than whatever you're doing.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my take on that anyway. Okay. Verse 23. Therefore, if you are presenting your offering at the altar and you remember that your brother has something against you, leave your offering there before the altar and go. First be reconciled to your brother and then come and present your offering. Reconciliation above personal worship. Interesting thing here. He doesn't say, if you remember that you have something against your brother.
Yeah.
It says, if your brother has something against you, does it say whether or not it's valid?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I teach one of my kids all the time. I tell them, look, if you do something wrong, who apologizes? You do. Now, if somebody else does something wrong, who apologizes? You do, because we're the peace bringers. It's always about bringing peace and love.
A ministry of reconciliation.
And yes, because if he has anger at you, you are a representative of God, and you don't want that anger bleeding upwards. So, yeah.
And that could branch off in all the stuff about Paul talking about not stumbling your brother. You have freedom to do this, and that stumbles your brother, and it's
Then
the same
don't
thing.
do it. Yeah.
God's number one thing is peace between the brethren. It says, how will they know that we're his disciples? The love we have one for another. So, well, it's not just, it's not right. I can do this or I could do that. I didn't do anything wrong. He perceives that you did something wrong.
Right.
In their mind, you did something wrong.
Right.
Even if you didn't do anything wrong, your job is to heal that wound. Because it's not about you. It's about him, about the person who's upset. It's about God. And if that person is not reconciled with you, that's going to hurt their relationship with God.
Yeah. And it's not what you would naturally do, but because it's not what you would naturally do and what you can't do without his help, that's what opens their eyes and draws their attention. Wait, why did they do that? And yeah, so.
All right, let's see. Make friends quickly with your opponent at law while you are with him on the way, so that your opponent may not hand you over to the judge, and the judge to the officer, and you be thrown into prison. Truly I say to you, you will not come out of there until you have paid the last cent. I do this at work all the time. It's like, well, we probably want to give a little, and go out of our way to bend over backwards to try to make peace here when there's a conflict. Because when you go to court, when people sue each other, the only people who ever win are the lawyers.
Yeah. Isn't that true?
The plaintiff and the defendant both lose.
Mm-hmm.
It's the lawyers who make all the money.
Yeah.
So why would we all spend more money for nothing?
Mm-hmm.
There's no gain. And it's the same spiritually. It's like, make peace.
Yeah.
Verse 27, you have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you, again, I say to you,
yes,
the word of God, that everyone who looks at a woman with lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. You're talking about the seeds. This is the birthing place of action.
Mm-hmm.
So it comes from perception through your mind. When you dwell on it in your heart, then it goes into action.
I'm so glad you used the word dwell, because I've heard people use this verse, I believe, incorrectly. I mean, I'm not, who am I? But still, I believe incorrectly, where I mean, this is not if you happen to glance at a woman's cleavage. That's not what it's talking about. It is, I mean, lust is dwelling. It's intentional. It's. I mean, it's a lot more than a quick glance.
Yeah.
So.
And
it's picturing and imagining,
yeah.
And then yes, you've committed the.
It's a visualization.
It's your intentions.
It's very much like my dad always used to teach us basketball when we were in high school, and he said, well, visualize the ball going in, visualize the exact form and the arc and the ball going into the hoop. And he said over and over, just visualize it and visualize it and visualize it. And then when you do it, it's going to happen exactly the way you visualized it. Because when you dwell on something, it becomes reality in the world that we're in. And so it's the beginning of that reality. And let's take that to a very positive place. You think about treating people with respect and kindness and love, and think nothing but the best thoughts about everybody who is being nasty and horrible to you.
Mm-hmm.
And you visualize that and visualize that and visualize that. And then when you're with them, you're completely at peace and you're calm and you have all this. It's dwelling on the Spirit, because He wants you to dwell on your love for Him, for the people that are around you. And it's interesting concept, but it seems to be the way that we were created. So we're going back to the beginnings of what the roots are of all these sins. It's not just, it started somewhere, right? That's why God hates pride so much, because pride is the root of all sin. All sin comes from pride, which is self-worship.
Yeah, love of self.
And so the remedy for pride is to always focus on God and others, because then you're looking out instead of looking in.
Absolutely, yeah.
Let's see. Verse 29. If your right eye makes you stumble, tear it out and throw it from you. For it is better for you to lose one of the parts of your body than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. If your right hand makes you stumble, cut it off and throw it from you. For it is better for you to lose one of the parts of your body than for your whole body to go into hell. Okay. I have actually heard people say that this is literal.
That's ridiculous.
And I have also heard people say that this is only for is for the Jews and not for Christians, because they did brutal things like that, and eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth, and cut off your hand if it makes you sin. And my reading of this is that it is saying, cut away your flesh. If something is getting in the way, it's part of this world. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that you have in this world, the only things that God is interested in this world are eternal things. And the only eternal things in this world are the spirits of people, not their bodies. And when you get that perspective, it makes you understand God a little better. How could God let all these horrible things happen? Well, it's in a physical world that doesn't really matter. So that's kind of like saying, oh my gosh, how could the game designer allow this Mortal Kombat guy to slice that guy's head off with a sword? That's absolutely horrible. It's a video game.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much the same thing. Not necessarily that this world is a video game, but that it's very much like a video game from God's perspective. That it's what happens here only matters in so much as spiritual beings decide to follow him and attach to him. And the plan is all geared to get people to do that,
Mm-hmm.
to bring them to that spot. And if he has to sacrifice bodies of people that are spiritual beings that are already connected to him and are already dwelling with him in heaven in eternity, then he's going to do that. Just like a chess master will sacrifice a pawn to win the game. And it's not bad. That's our problem, is that we define good and bad subjectively.
Right.
Instead
through
of-
our own understanding.
We do it through our eyes
course.
instead of through God's eyes.
Then I think there's another level to it as well, because eye and hand. These are very Jewish ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So, eye is what you contemplate, and hand usually denotes your actions. So. It's the things you're looking upon, the things you're thinking about, the things let the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart. What are the meditations of your heart?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then what are your actual actions? You may say, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, but then what are you actually doing?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Verse 31. It was said, whoever sends his wife away, let him give her a certificate of divorce. But I say to you, that everyone who divorces his wife, except for the reason of unchastity, makes her commit adultery. Makes her commit adultery. And whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery.
Mm-hmm.
That's one wife forever.
Oh, yes.
Again, you have heard that the ancients were told, you shall not make false vows, but shall fulfill your vows to the Lord. But I say to you, make no oath at all, either by heaven, for it is the throne of God, or by the earth, for it is the footstool of his feet, or by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. Nor shall you make an oath by your head, for you cannot make one hair white or black. But let your statement be yes, yes, or no, no. Anything beyond these is of evil. We don't have the power to fulfill oaths.
Mm-hmm.
We are trapped in time. We don't know the future.
Oh, yeah.
And so he's saying I like what John says, as the Lord wills.
I like that one too.
We'll see what God's going to do.
Right.
I'm like, hey, want to go do this? Or you want to... Yeah, if the Lord wills, sounds great.
The Lord wills.
And it's like, okay, it's refreshing, right? Because we always say, yes, I have this, and this is going to happen, this is going to happen. And then if it's not happening, because God goes, that's not my plan, bro. We're going this way.
Yeah.
And then we feel that since we've made those commitments, we have to fulfill those commitments. So we end up diverging from God's path because we're inflexible.
And we definitely are.
All right. I've got this one all boxed out. Let's find out why. Verse 38. You have heard it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, do not resist an evil person. But whoever slaps you on your right cheek, turn the other to him also. If anyone wants to sue you and take your shirt, let him have your coat also. Whoever forces you to go 1 mile, go with him 2. Give to him who asks of you, and do not turn away from him who wants to borrow from you. That's interesting, because it goes back to what we were just talking about with nothing really matters but the souls of men.
Yes.
And by men, I mean both genders of men.
Of course.
But he's saying that's going to be a testimony to them. Somebody smacks you, you go.
Yeah.
A lot of the pastors I've heard over the years have said that this is symbolic. Christians aren't doormats. If somebody smacks you on one cheek, we're not really going to turn the other cheek. It just means don't hit them back.
Yeah, no, that's what he would have said if that's what he meant. So
I'm looking at it as God saying it doesn't matter what happens to you, because when you don't react, when somebody asks you to go 1 mile and you go 2, when somebody asks for your coat, you give them your coat also. You know, when you don't deny to anybody who's asking of you. Well, you don't care about what happens to you? Why don't you care what happens to you? Why don't you care about the things you have? Why don't you care about the things of this world? Mm-hmm. Why aren't the things of this world important to you? Mm-hmm. That's a testimony to them. So that's what I think he's saying here.
Yeah.
Let's see. Verse 43. You have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be sons of your Father who is in heaven, for he causes his sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. For if you love those who love you, what reward do you have? Do not even tax collectors do the same? If you greet only your brothers, what more are you doing than others? Do not even the Gentiles do the same? Therefore, you are to be perfect, as your heavenly Father is perfect.
I mean, we can't save somebody. Only God can save somebody. But we can't even plant a seed if we're not approaching them in love. And, you know, Jesus came for the sick, and he came for the people who needed him. And if somebody's attacking you, that's somebody that needs God. So they're representing themselves through anger. So our job is to represent him through forgiveness and love, and not ourselves. Because if we were representing ourselves, then we would want revenge. Mm-hmm. That's what we would want.
Yep.
But it doesn't matter what we want. So are we still serving our needs, or are we serving his? Because God doesn't need our revenge. What God needs is for somebody to love this guy.
Yeah.
That's what he needs. So
I think that's also the reason Jesus sent the Holy Spirit. He died to purify us, so that his Spirit, who's omnipresent, can possess all of us who will receive him.
All that will.
And so that instead of just being one guy walking around Galilee and Judea, he can be millions of people. Because, and that's an important, I think, important perspective to have as a Christian, is to realize that we are nothing more than extensions of Jesus. We were given the Holy Spirit so that we could be him on earth.
So he could be clothed in him.
So people can get a hug from Jesus still.
Yeah.
Right?
Right?
And I think Jesus did turn the other cheek.
Forgive them, Father, they know not what they do.
Yep. And so if we're just extensions of Jesus, should we not do the same? Oh, man. All right. Well, that's chapter 5. First of 3 chapters. So I'm thinking maybe we'll take a break and come back for chapter 6.
Sounds good.
All right.